The sun had just begun to rise over the Pride Lands, casting a warm, golden glow across the savannah. The birds were singing, and the air was alive with the scent of dew-kissed grass and blooming flowers. But amidst this calm and beauty, a young lion named Kion stirred from his den with a purpose in his heart. Kion was not just any lion cub, he carried the legacy of kings within him. Though young, his eyes sparkled with determination, curiosity, and a fire that hinted at the greatness he was destined to achieve. Kion had grown up hearing tales of his father, Simba, the mighty king who ruled with wisdom and courage. From the day Kion could walk, he was taught the ways of the Pride Lands, learning about leadership, responsibility, and the importance of protecting every creature, big or small. Yet Kion knew that being a future king was not only about power, it was about heart, bravery, and understanding the true meaning of justice. On this particular morning, Kion decided it was time to test himself. The Pride Lands were peaceful, but peace required vigilance. Scouts had reported unusual movements near the western borders, and Kion felt a pull in his heart to investigate. As he padded silently through the tall grass, his mind was filled with thoughts of the elders' lessons. A true king acts with courage, even when the path is uncertain. The western plains were a place of mystery, dotted with rocky outcrops and hidden valleys where predators often lurked. Kion's ears twitched at every sound, the rustle of leaves, the distant calls of birds, the faint scurrying of small creatures. He moved cautiously but confidently, knowing that he had to remain alert. Suddenly, a sharp cry echoed from the cliffs above. Kion's paws carried him swiftly toward the sound. In air, caught between two rocks, was a small herd of gazelles, frightened and unable to escape a lurking hyena. Without hesitation, Kion leapt into action. His roar, though young, carried authority and strength. The hyena froze, intimidated by the display of bravery, and Kion used the moment to guide the gazelles to safety. This act, though small in the grand scheme of the Pride Lands, was significant for Kion. It was a step toward becoming the protector he was destined to be. Returning to Pride Rock, Kion reflected on the encounter. Leadership, he realized, was not about being the strongest or the fastest. It was about making decisions that ensured the safety and well-being of all. He shared his story with his friends and younger cubs, teaching them that courage was in the heart and in action, not in size or loudness. The cubs listened intently, inspired by his words and deeds. Days passed, and Kion continued to train under the watchful eyes of the elders. He learned about strategy, diplomacy, and the delicate balance of power within the Pride Lands. More importantly, he learned about responsibility, the kind that weighed heavy on the shoulders of a future king. Every decision mattered, every action created ripples, and Kion felt the weight of his future. One afternoon, a messenger arrived with urgent news. A rival pride had been spotted encroaching on the northern boundaries. Tensions were rising, and there was a risk of conflict if the situation was not handled wisely. Kion's heart pounded with a mix of fear and determination. This was a true test of his courage and leadership. Unlike previous days when he acted alone, this challenge required strategy, communication, and the ability to inspire others. Kion gathered the Pride Guard and convened a meeting. His voice, calm yet commanding, addressed both the urgency of the situation and the importance of fairness. "We must protect our lands," he said, "but we must do so with wisdom, not recklessness. Strength alone cannot win hearts or preserve peace. Courage without understanding is incomplete." The younger lions nodded, inspired by his clarity and vision. The elders observed silently, impressed by the balance of caution and bravery in Kion's approach. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Kion led a scouting party to the northern border. The tension was palpable. Shadows moved in the distance, and the air was thick with anticipation. Kion's mind raced with possibilities how to confront the rival pride, how to protect the animals under his care, and how to maintain peace without aggression. Every step was deliberate, every movement calculated, yet guided by instinct and heart. When they reached the northern cliffs, the rival pride emerged from the brush. There was a moment of silence, a stillness that seemed to stretch across the plains. Then Kion stepped forward, not with aggression, but with authority and respect. "We are the guardians of these lands," he said. "We seek peace, but we will defend what is just. Let us resolve this with fairness, not needless conflict." The rival lions, taken aback by Kion's composure and courage, hesitated. Negotiations began, guided by the young lion's wisdom. Through dialogue and measured actions, Kion was able to reach an agreement that prevented bloodshed, safeguarded the Pride Lands, and earned the respect of both prides. That night, back at Pride Rock, the stars twinkled above like countless eyes watching over the savannah. Kion gazed at the constellations, feeling both pride and humility. He understood that leadership was not about winning battles alone, it was about earning trust, protecting others, and acting with integrity. He had taken his first true steps toward becoming the legendary lion he was destined to be. In the following weeks, Kion continued his journey of growth. He trained tirelessly with the elders, learning the histories of the Pride Lands, the importance of alliances, and the delicate balance between courage and wisdom. Each day presented new challenges, some small, some monumental, but Kion approached them all with the mindset of a future king. One morning, a storm rolled over the Pride Lands, bringing fierce winds and heavy rain. Lightning flashed across the sky, and the roar of thunder echoed through the valleys. Many animals sought shelter, frightened by the intensity of the storm. Kion, however, saw an opportunity to lead. He guided the younger cubs and smaller animals to safety, demonstrating calmness and bravery, even in the face of nature's fury. By the time the storm passed, he had earned the admiration and trust of animals across the Pride Lands, reinforcing the lesson that true leadership required courage, presence, and empathy in every circumstance. By the time the sun returned, casting rainbows across the waterholes, Kion felt a deeper sense of purpose. He understood that his rise was not just about power, it was about legacy, protection, and creating a kingdom where every creature felt valued and safe. His heart swelled with determination, knowing that each action, each decision, and each act of courage brought him closer to the legendary lion he was meant to become. The Pride Lands were alive with the hum of life birds calling, streams flowing, and the distant roars of lions marking their territories. Kion stood atop a hill, gazing across the vast expanse of his home. The wind ruffled his mane, and for a moment, he felt the weight and the honor of his destiny. A future king was not born overnight. It was forged through trials, bravery, wisdom, and an unwavering commitment to justice and care for all creatures. Kion's journey had only begun, yet the steps he had taken so far defined the heart of a leader. Each roar, each decision, and each act of protection added to the legend of the brave lion rising to meet his destiny. The Pride Lands would witness a transformation. Guided by a lion who understood that courage was more than strength, it was vision, compassion, and the will to act for what was right. As night fell over the savannah, the moon illuminated Pride Rock in a silver glow. Kion lay down beside his family, reflecting on the day's events. He thought of the gazelles, the cubs he had guided, the rival lions, and the lessons learned from each encounter. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and new chances to prove that a future king could rise with courage, wisdom, and heart. And with that, Kion closed his eyes, dreaming of the legendary rise he was destined to achieve. A journey that would inspire generations of lions and creatures alike. The dawn broke softly over the Pride Lands, but Kion was already awake. His mind replayed the events of the previous days, each challenge shaping him, each choice carving a deeper sense of purpose into his heart. Being a future king was no longer just a story told by elders or a title whispered with pride. It was a responsibility that followed him with every step, every breath, and every decision. Today, he felt would test not only his courage, but his patience and wisdom as well. As the Pride Land stirred to life, Kion set out on his morning patrol. The grass brushed against his paws, and the warm air carried familiar scents. Everything seemed peaceful, yet Kion had learned that calm moments often hid important lessons. Near the river, he noticed a group of animals gathered in uneasy silence. Elephants stood on one side, zebras on the other, and between them lay a broken tree that had fallen during the storm. The fallen tree blocked access to the water, and tension hung thick in the air. Kion approached slowly, listening before speaking. The elephants believed they had the right to move the tree first, Jews in their strength. While the zebras feared being pushed aside or trampled, voices grew louder, frustration rising. Kion stepped forward and raised his head calmly. He did not roar. Instead, he spoke with steady confidence. He reminded them that the river belonged to everyone, and that strength should be used to help, not to dominate. Holiday. After a moment of silence, Kion suggested a plan. The elephants would carefully move the tree, while the zebras and smaller animals waited at a safe distance. Everyone would take turns reaching the water once the path was clear. It was a simple solution, but it required trust. Slowly, the animals agreed. When the tree was finally moved and no one was hurt, relief washed over the group. Gratitude replaced tension, and Kion felt another quiet lesson settle into his heart. Leadership meant creating harmony, even in small moments. Later that day, Kion met with the elders. They spoke of history, of past kings who had faced difficult choices. Some had ruled with fear, others with pride. The greatest, they said, ruled with balance, too. One elder looked directly at Kion and asked him a question that lingered heavily in the air. What would he do if justice demanded a choice that hurt someone he cared about? The question followed Kion long after the meeting ended. He barely had time to reflect before trouble arrived. A young lion from the Pride Lands was accused of stealing food meant for a group of smaller animals. Anger spread quickly. Some demanded punishment. Others defended the cub, claiming hunger had driven him. Kion felt torn. He knew the cub personally. He had trained with him, laughed with him, shared stories beneath the stars. Instead of acting quickly, Kion listened. He spoke to the smaller animals, understanding their fear and sense of betrayal. He spoke to the young lion, who admitted his mistake with shame in his eyes. Hunger had driven him, but guilt weighed heavily on his heart. Kion realized this moment reflected the elder's question. Justice was not about choosing sides. It was about doing what was right. Kion addressed everyone. He acknowledged the harm done and the fear caused. Then he spoke of accountability and compassion. The young lion would help gather food for the smaller animals until trust was restored. He would also help protect them during patrols, proving his commitment through action. The decision was fair, not cruel. The smaller animals felt heard. The young lion felt guided rather than cast aside. As the sun dipped low, Kion stood alone on a ridge overlooking the Pride Lands. His chest felt heavy, but also strong. He understood now that leadership was not about pleasing everyone. It was about standing firm in fairness, even when emotions pulled in different directions. Destiny, which not a path laid out in advance. It was shaped by choices made in difficult moments. That night, a distant roar echoed across the plains. Scouts returned with news of a growing threat near the borders. Kion felt the familiar spark of fear and determination ignite within him. Tomorrow would bring another test, another chance to grow. Lay down beneath the stars, his thoughts calm but focused. Kion was no longer just a cub learning stories of kings. He was becoming one. With every challenge faced and every lesson learned, the future king continued his rise, guided by courage, wisdom, and a heart strong enough to carry the weight of destiny. Tonight, air was cool and still as Kion stood at the edge of Pride Rock, looking out over the vast lands he loved. Stars shimmered above him like quiet promises, and the moon cast a silver path across the savannah. In moments like this, Kion felt the weight of destiny most strongly. Not as pressure, but as a calling. He knew now that becoming a king was not about waiting for the future. It was about choosing the right path every single day. At dawn, urgency returned. Scouts arrived with troubling news. A group of animals living near the shadowed gorge were in danger. Rock slides had blocked their only safe route, and predators had begun circling, sensing weaknesses. Fear spread quickly. Some lions suggested guarding only the core Pride lands, arguing that venturing into the gorge was too risky. Kion listened carefully, feeling the tension between safety and responsibility pull at his heart. He stepped forward and spoke with quiet strength. Protecting the Pride lands, he said, meant protecting everyone who depended on them. Leaving others behind would weaken the very unity they had worked so hard to build. His words were steady, but his eyes burned with resolve. After a long pause, the Pride agreed to follow him. The journey to the gorge was difficult. Loose stones shifted under their paws, and echoes bounced off the canyon walls. Kion led carefully, guiding younger lions and watching for danger. When they reached the trapped animals, fear filled the air. Kion did not rush. He assessed the rocks, listened to the wind, and remembered his training. With patience and teamwork, the lions cleared a safe path, guiding the animals to higher ground. When the last frightened creature reached safety, a wave of relief swept through the group. But the challenge was not over. Below, Grell rolled through the canyon. A powerful predator emerged from the shadows, blocking their escape route. The younger lions tensed, ready to fight. Kion raised his tail, signaling calm. He stepped forward alone, heart pounding, every instinct screaming caution. But courage, he had learned, was not acting without fear. It was acting despite it. Kion stood tall and let out a controlled, commanding roar. Not one of anger, but of authority. The sound echoed through the canyon, carrying confidence and warning. The predator hesitated, sensing not just strength, but unity behind the young lion. Slowly, it backed away and disappeared into the shadows. Cheers erupted. The rescued animals looked at Kion with awe and gratitude. In that moment, Kion felt something shift inside him. This was more than leadership. This was trust earned through action. When they returned to Pride Rock, the elders gathered. They spoke of Kion's choices, his calm under pressure, and his unwavering sense of justice. One elder stepped forward and spoke words Kion would never forget. "A true king," he said, "is not chosen by birth alone, but by the courage to protect others, the wisdom to listen, and the heart to put the kingdom before himself." As days turned into weeks, the Pride lands flourished. Disputes were resolved through dialogue. Younger lions learned to protect rather than dominate. Smaller animals moved freely, no longer afraid. Kion continued to train, to listen, and to learn. He knew he was still growing, still becoming, but he also knew he was walking the right path. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Kion stood beside his family. The wind carried the sounds of life across the plains. He looked out over the land, not as a cub dreaming of greatness, but as a leader shaping it. Destiny was no longer something far away. It was here, in every choice he made. Under the glowing sky, Kion lifted his head and released a proud, steady roar. It echoed across the Pride Lands, not as a declaration of power, but as a promise to lead with courage, wisdom, and heart. The future king was no longer just in the making. He was rising, step by step, into the legend he was meant to become.